We continue now with the commemoration of World AIDS Day. I'm joined now by Nozibele Qamngana-Mayaba, who has been living with HIV for over 8 years now. Good to have you with us on the Daytime Update, Nozibele. I was just saying to you as, we were testing that I can see that you dressed according to the theme. You've got the red dress, you've got the red lips, and even the picture that you have at the top there, you're wearing a red dress as well. So you really are into this, right?
Absolutely. Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us now. Nozibele, you found out 8 years ago that you were living or that you had HIV. How has your experience been living with HIV?
I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride. World AIDS Day obviously allows me to just reflect on the last 8 years. For the first 6 years after my diagnosis, it was pretty hard, considering that I hid my status from my family. Only in 2019, end of 2019, where I went to my family and said I'd actually been living with HIV since 2013. At that time, I'd made a conscious decision that, it was an unfortunate situation, but I just wanted to make something good out of it. How many people like me that are living in silence? They cannot, tell their family, they cannot disclose their status to their families. I just wanted to be that symbol of hope to them that despite what you're going through, it is going to be okay. And look at me, I'm living positively like anyone else, and I'm still me.
And I wonder, what were your symptoms upon diagnosis? The mere fact that you managed to live with the virus in your body for so many years without, having told your family. Did anybody suspect that perhaps there was a health issue?
No, and thank you for asking that question, because I'm asked that question all the time. I've had unprotected sex with someone and I have a headache. I can feel it in my body. There are no symptoms for HIV, Tammy. In my case in particular, it was a random day at work. I had gone to participate in a wellness day event, and upon being tested by a nurse, she confirmed that I was HIV positive. And for the last 8 years, I'll be very, very honest, and guess I'm one of the blessed ones, because even taking into consideration, going on treatment on ARVs since 2017, I haven't had any side effects. So there were not really any, symptoms per se that prompted me to test. It was a random day at work, and although, once again, it was an unfortunate situation, I'm so blessed because so many people have gone through life not knowing their status up until a point where they get sick. And then upon testing, that's when they find out that they're HIV positive.
And I hope that you'll be able to help me make sense of this, because my understanding is that HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. So you may have HIV, but if you don't necessarily, if the virus doesn't replicate enough or doesn't compromise your immune system enough, then does that mean then that you don't have HIV? And where do you fall within that line where you had HIV in your body and yet you did not have all the accompanying symptoms?
Remember, Tammy, HIV comes in obviously in different stages. When I got tested, my CD4 count was above 600, which at the time was considered relatively healthy, because pre-2015, only people that had a CD4 count of less than 250 were encouraged, to start treatment. In my case, yes, I was HIV positive, but I had no symptoms. I was considered relatively healthy. However, if it had gone to a point where over time, as the years went by, the virus starts replicating in my body and also untreated. By being untreated, it means that I'm not taking any ARVs. It replicates to a point where you are prone to opportunistic diseases such as TB, diabetes, pneumonia, all sorts of opportunistic diseases, until a point where you have full-blown AIDS. So in my case, I'll say again, it was at the early stages where it could still be considered relatively manageable. But if I had gone to a point where 5 years, 10 years down the line, no ARVs, I'm not taking care of myself, literally, you would have seen symptoms, and it would have gone to a point where I would have full-blown AIDS.
I must say, Nozibele, your particular personal story really drives the message home that it's important to test and it's important to know your status either way and to do your tests early, because if you find out that you do have HIV in your body, you're able to take the ARVs and you don't have to reach the point of actually even falling sick, which was your particular story. But talk to me about the side effects of medication, of the ARVs. How did they affect your body?
No, we have come far, Tammy, because I know when I speak to people that have been on treatment, for over 10 years, we come from an era where there was redistribution of fat. So if you had more fat on your lower body, by taking ARVs, that fat will be redistributed on your upper body. It will cause people to have nightmares. It will cause people to not sleep, But we have come far because obviously of medical advancement. I started taking my ARVs beginning of 2017, and I'll be very honest, I've had no side effects. Except for the first few weeks where I had nausea, I would have a slight headache, but after a week, it went back to normal, and that's what has been happening since then. But it varies, Tammy, from one person to the next. Similar to what we say with the COVID-19 vaccine, right? To me, it didn't have any effect, but there are some people that would have a headache, that their body will be sore, they'll feel tired. That's what happens also with the ARVs. So it varies from one person to the next, also depending on your immune system, how strong it is. But the most common will be the, I'll say, insomnia, struggling to sleep, nausea. But over time, it definitely, you get over it. But also with the help of your clinician, your doctor, it's very, very important for you to consult so that if there are really heavy side effects, your doctor can change you to a different dosage.
I mean, you sound like you're very healthy. But are there any sort of restrictions to your life, other things that you just simply cannot do or that you should not do?
Oh, no, I do everything. No, for me, I think I just live my life positively, but also more on a serious note, I am in an HIV mixed status, relationship. My husband is HIV negative. I am HIV positive. I'm on ARVs and my viral load is undetectable. So meaning the chances of me infecting him are very much slim. But also as an extra precautionary, he's also on PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It is taken by people that are at a high risk of getting infected. So by doing all of that, we are protecting ourselves from me infecting him and also from him getting infected. But from a lifestyle point of view, there's nothing I cannot do. Anything that an HIV negative person wants to do, I can also do. I go swimming, I can go bungee jumping if I want, but also depending on my life cover, it covers it. But other than that, I can do anything.
That's awesome. Now, when you met your husband now, were you already HIV positive? And if not, how did you broach that topic with him?
So I met my husband 3 years after my diagnosis, and I remember I was at the airport, waboni ntombi washayela, but obviously there was this story that was still lingering, on my mind. After about a month of, texting each other, chatting on emails, it was very important for me to sit him down to say, before this even goes further, I think you should really note that I'm living positively with HIV. And I'm not sure how you're going to take that, considering how, there's still stigma attached to people living with HIV. But I was pleasantly surprised. This person still asked me out to lunch. That was 6 years ago, and we'll be celebrating our 3-year anniversary next year, April.
Oh, congratulations on that. Now, as far as he's concerned in the prophylactics that he's taking, are there any side effects to those?
No, none whatsoever. And can I please commend him on that? Because also it was not only a precaution from his side. although I have not had challenges per se physically when it comes to HIV, but it was more mental from my side. I've had pill fatigue. I've been tired of taking pills because they're a constant reminder, that I'm HIV positive. And with his support, that's one of the things that encourage him to go on PrEP. One, as a precaution for him, but also as a support for me as well in our marriage. But as far as side effects, none whatsoever.
As you continue telling your story, it's just so important to actually have a supportive partner. It's so important to have a mechanism and an infrastructure around you that will help you in times when you're feeling weak, like you're just tired of taking pills every single day. And here comes somebody who says, look, I'll take pills with you, so let's do this thing together. Do you have any kids, or do you plan on having any?
We plan on having kids in the future, but I don't know when, God willing. But at this point in time, we're raising my 4-year-old niece and my stepson. So in the future, possibly, we'll see.
And have you spoken to any medics and your gynae regarding what the restrictions might be, or the type of preparations that you would need to make as somebody who has HIV when you're planning a pregnancy? And if so, what are the measures that you need to consider?
Oh, definitely all the time. One of the things that he's very, straightforward to continue to take your medication, making sure that your viral load is suppressed, and that honestly decreases to limit the chances of you infecting your child at birth. The other thing is that when it comes a time where we want to try for a baby, the mechanisms that we have put into place already are conducive for us to have a child. So in a case where my husband was not on PrEP, or in a case where I was not on ARVs, he would have actually initiated that discussion. So if you are someone that wants to have a baby, it's definitely possible. Be on your ARVs, on your treatment, making sure that your viral load is undetectable. Continue to go to your treatments and basically just follow the guidance of your gynae, your doctor, or your nurse. But other than that, it is really possible. When the child is born, they are given medication also to protect it, and then it is tested continuously to make sure that they are HIV negative. But other than that, the mechanisms that we have put into place for us to have a baby, even tomorrow, it is possible.
Now, before I let you go, Nozibele, what type of messaging do you think government needs to put in place to ensure that the message around HIV and AIDS is communicated effectively, to make sure that people are careful and they take whatever precautions they need to take in order to make sure that they don't contract the virus in the first place? What do you believe are the gaps here?
Can I be very honest without sounding too political? This day, Tammy, to me, has mixed feelings. On one side, I'm very proud because I get to commemorate the fallen heroes that passed away due to the fact that our government resisted in introducing ARVs in our country. So to them, I salute them, because to where I am now, where I can have access to ARVs, I know that their death is not in vain. And then on the other hand, I get to have a sense where I hope when we commemorate World AIDS Day, it transcends beyond the 1st of December. So it's not a day where we remember World AIDS Day or HIV on the 1st of December, but it is part of our everyday conversation. So that's one of the things where I think that gaps are. But lastly, Tammy, I think there are gaps in our interventions because there are uncomfortable conversations that we still do not want to have. For example, there are media outlets that reported that there continued to be a rise when it comes to teenage pregnancy, and subsequently the increase in children, or rather girls, that are infected with HIV. But we don't want to have a conversation that these girls are manipulated into a situation where they sleep with older men. So we need to talk about how there's a link with in HIV and patriarchy. There's a link between HIV and power dynamics in our communities. There's a link between HIV and GBV in our communities. So we can't treat the other and discuss the other without the other. Those are the things that I want to make sure that our government sees and acknowledges, that men intervention is where we lack. Yes, women and children are mostly affected, but if more men would test, then I think that the whole spectrum, it will change.
Nozibele Qamngana-Mayaba, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing so personally on your experience. She's been living with HIV for over 8 years now. Thank you so much for your time.